The stars above Earth burned with the light of warships. 47 worlds had fallen before this moment. 47 civilizations had turned to dust under the command of one being. His name was Kael Voss, and he was the Imperium's chosen hand of death. Kael stood on the bridge of his warship, the Oblivion's Edge, staring down at the blue planet below. His obsidian exoskeleton reflected the red emergency lights of the command center. At 8 feet tall, he towered over every console and screen. His 4 eyes tracked data streams without emotion. Another world. Another execution order. Another day in the eternal order of the galaxy. Target locked, his weapons officer announced. The voice came through his translator as flat and cold as static. Kael raised one massive hand. His claws extended, each one sharp enough to cut through steel. This gesture had ended worlds before. It would end another today. Earth had refused the Imperium's offer of protection. They had chosen chaos over order. They had chosen death. But something felt different this time. Down below, in the ruins of what humans called Sol, Han Sol was trying to save seeds. The city burned around her. Buildings collapsed into streets that had once been filled with people and life and noise. Now there was only smoke and screaming and the sound of metal tearing through concrete. Han Sol's hands shook as she sealed another container. Inside were seeds from a flower that might not exist anywhere else in the universe anymore. Her research facility had taken a direct hit 3 hours ago. Most of her colleagues were dead. She should have run with the others. But these seeds were all that remained of a world that was disappearing by the minute. Han Sol. The voice cut through the chaos. Her sister Ji Woo appeared through the smoke, wearing the dirty remains of a medic's uniform. Blood stained her hands and face. We have to go now. Tae-min is evacuating everyone through the subway tunnels. Tae-min. Just one more, Han Sol whispered. Her fingers worked quickly, professionally. She had trained for years to preserve endangered species. She never thought she would be preserving her entire planet. Ji-woo grabbed her arm. There's no time. The ships are coming back. Above them, Kael prepared to give the order. His crew waited in silence. They had done this before. The bombardment would last exactly 17 minutes. After that, nothing larger than a building would remain standing on the planet's surface. After that, ground forces would clear out any survivors. After that, another world would be added to the Imperium's territory. Clean. Kael opened his mouth to speak. Then every screen on his bridge went white. What? He started to say. The ship lurched. Alarms screamed from every direction. His weapons officer fell backwards as her console exploded in sparks. The lights died. Emergency systems kicked in. Red light flooded the bridge again, but now it pulsed with warning. We've been breached, someone shouted. A virus in our core systems. Kael's mind raced. Impossible. The Imperium's technology was thousands of years ahead of Earth's. Their security systems could not be broken by primitive human computers. Yet the evidence was all around him. His ship was dying, far below. A human hacker named Day One smiled as he died. The weapon that had killed him was still hot against his chest. But he had done it. He had uploaded the virus. His last thought was of his daughter, who had died in the first bombardment 3 days ago. He hoped this would matter. He hoped this would give someone else a chance. Abandon ship protocols, Kael commanded. His voice remained steady even as the deck tilted beneath him. Get to the escape pods. But it was too late for most of his crew. The virus had spread too fast. It locked doors. It vented atmosphere. It turned the Oblivion's Edge into a coffin for everyone aboard. Kael ran. He was not ashamed of this. He was the Imperium's most valuable weapon. His survival was doctrine. His duty was to live and serve. He reached an escape pod and threw himself inside, just as an explosion tore through the corridor behind him. The pod launched. Through the small window, He watched his warship tear itself apart, pieces of hull scattered into space like burning rain. Then, the pod's systems failed too. The virus had infected even these small vessels. Kale felt gravity take hold. He felt heat build around the pod. He was falling. The planet he had come to destroy was now reaching up to catch him. Han Sol and Ji Woo made it to the subway tunnels. Hundreds of people crowded in the darkness. Children cried. Adults whispered prayers. Taemin stood near the entrance, his gray hair matted with dust and sweat. He had been a general once. Now, he was just a man trying to save whoever he could. "Is this everyone from Sector 7? He asked Ji Woo. She nodded. "Everyone we could find. Then we move." The next bombardment could hit any second, but the bombardment never came. Instead, something else fell from the sky. Something that burned brighter than any weapon. Something that crashed into the mountains north of the city with enough force to shake the ground for miles. "What was that?" someone asked. Taemin pulled up a broken tablet computer. Its screen flickered with half-dead satellites, still trying to send data. He saw the thermal signature. He saw the trajectory. His eyes went wide. "That was one of their ships," he said quietly. "Something happened up there." Han Sol looked at her sister. Ji Woo looked back. They both thought the same thing. Maybe this was a chance. Maybe this was hope. 3 days later, Han Sol went looking for supplies in the mountains. The resistance needed food. They needed medicine. They needed anything that could help them survive another week. The forests here had once been beautiful. Now they were scarred with craters and burning trees. She found the pod half buried in earth. Steam still rose from its surface. The metal was bent and torn. She should have turned around. She should have run back to the tunnels and told Taemin what she had found. Instead, she moved closer. The pod's door had been forced open from inside. A trail of dark blue liquid led away into the trees. Blood, she realized. Alien blood. She followed it carefully. Quietly, her hand touched the small knife at her belt. It would not do much against whatever had survived that crash, but it made her feel slightly less afraid. She found him collapsed against a tree. At first, she thought he was dead. His massive body did not move. His armor was cracked and leaking fluids. Then she heard it. A sound like grinding metal, like pain made into noise. He was trying to breathe. Han Sol had studied biology. She understood that different species needed different atmospheres. This creature was suffocating on Earth's air. His body was shutting down. In another hour, maybe less, he would die here in these woods. She should let him. She should walk away. She had lost everything because of beings like this one. Her parents, her home, her entire world. But she had also been trained to save things, to preserve life, to protect what was rare. And dying, she made a choice. She pulled the portable oxygen converter from her pack. It was meant for human survivors trapped in collapsed buildings. But maybe it would work. Maybe it would be enough. She moved closer to the dying executioner. She began to work. And somewhere, in his fading consciousness, K.L. Voss felt hands trying to save him, instead of kill him. For the first time in his long life, he did not understand why. K.L. woke to darkness and pain. His body felt wrong. The air tasted strange. For several seconds, he could not remember where he was or what had happened. Then, memory returned like a blade to his chest. His ship, the virus, the fall, Earth. He tried to move but found his arms and legs bound with metal cables. Strong ones. Military grade. His armor had been partially removed. Marcus Tate, diagnostic tools he did not recognize were attached to his chest, monitoring his vital signs. A tube ran from a machine beside him into his respiratory system. That was why he could breathe. Someone was keeping him alive. The room was small and underground. Concrete walls. A single light source. Shelves filled with sealed containers. Through the walls, he could hear the distant rumble of what might be generators or ventilation systems. A bunker. He was in a human bunker. "You're awake." The voice came from behind him. Female. Calm. Speaking the human language called Korean. His translator converted it automatically. Kale turned his head as much as his restraints allowed. He saw her. The human female from the forest. She sat on a metal chair, watching him with careful eyes. Her dark hair was tied back. Her clothes were practical and worn. She looked tired but not afraid. "Where am I?" His voice came out distorted through the breathing apparatus. "Safe," she said. "Or as safe as anywhere on Earth right now." Why? The question was simple. The answer, he knew, would not be. Hansol stood up and moved closer. She checked the monitors beside him. "Your respiratory system was shutting down. Your species cannot process oxygen at Earth's atmospheric levels. This converter is keeping you alive." She adjusted something on the machine. "Why did I save you?" "I'm still asking myself that question. I am KL Voss, executioner of the Galactic Imperium. I have ended 47 civilizations." He said this not as a threat, but as a fact. She should understand what she had saved. "You should have let me die." "Probably." Hansol sat down again. "My parents died 3 days ago, when your ships first attacked. My entire research facility was destroyed. Most of my friends are dead." She looked at him directly. "But I'm a scientist. I save things. It's what I do. Even when it doesn't make sense." The door to the bunker opened. Another human entered, younger than the first. She wore a medic's uniform and carried weapons. Her eyes went immediately to Kale, and he saw rage there, pure and bright. "Ji-woo," Hansol said quietly. "He's awake." Ji-woo moved across the room fast. Her hand went to the pistol at her hip. "You saved him. You actually saved him. Do you know what he is? Do you know what he's done?" "I know." Hansol's voice remained calm. "I saw the broadcasts before the communications went down. I know he's an executioner. Then why is he still breathing?" Ji-woo's hand shook on her weapon. "Our parents are dead because of him. Millions of people are dead because of him." Kale watched this exchange. He had seen many species face death. Most begged. Some fought. Some accepted. But he had never seen this. This conflict between survival and revenge. This strange human tendency to argue about everything, even in the face of extinction. "Because we're not like them," Hansol said. She stood and placed herself between her sister and Kale. "Because if we kill a prisoner who cannot fight back, we become what the Imperium thinks we are. Savages. Animals. Things that need to be eliminated. He wouldn't show us mercy." Ji-woo's voice cracked. "He didn't show anyone mercy." "You're right," Hansol's voice softened. "But that's exactly why we should be different." 9. Ji-woo stared at her sister for a long moment. Then she turned and left, without another word. The door sealed behind her, with a heavy sound. Hansol sat back down. She looked exhausted. Kale realized this conversation had happened before. Many times, probably. He was causing division in this small group of survivors. Another kind of damage. "Your sister wants me dead," he said. "Everyone wants you dead." Hansol pulled out a small container from one of the shelves. Inside were seeds. She opened it carefully and showed him. "Do you know what these are?" "Seeds. Plant reproduction. These are from a flower called Mugunghwa. It was our national flower. It probably doesn't exist anywhere on Earth anymore, except in this container." She closed the lid gently. "I've spent my whole life saving things like this. Species that are dying. Ecosystems that are collapsing. It's hard work. Most of the time, I fail. But sometimes, I save something. Sometimes I give something a chance to survive." She looked at him. You're just another dying thing that I happen to find. Maybe that makes me stupid. Maybe that makes me weak. But it's who I am. KL had no response to this. In all his years serving the Imperium, in all the worlds he had conquered, he had never encountered logic like this. It made no sense. It violated every principle of survival and warfare. And yet she had done it anyway. Your ship, she said, changing the subject. What happened to it? Sabotage. A virus in our core systems. One of our people did that? For the first time, Hansel smiled. It was sad, but also proud. Good for them. Thousands died on my ship. Millions died down here. Her smile faded. I'm sorry for your crew, but we're fighting for our survival. You came here to execute us. What did you expect? Kyle thought about this. What had he expected? Compliance, probably. Or quick death. The Imperium's enemies usually chose one or the other. But humans had chosen a third option. Resistance. Futile, costly resistance that somehow brought down a warship with primitive technology. The Imperium will send more ships, he said. We know. Hansel's voice was matter-of-fact. We're not stupid. We can't win. But we can make them remember us. We can make them work for it. Days passed. Kale remained bound in the bunker. Han Sol came regularly to check his systems and bring him nutrition paste suitable for his biology. She also talked about Earth, about human history, about the wars they had fought among themselves and the peace they had built afterwards, about art and music and philosophy. Kael listened. He had no choice. But something strange began to happen. He began to remember things. Questions he had not asked before. Details he had not noticed. When he had executed the Vryn homeworld, had they also had scientists who saved seeds? When he had burned the ocean cities of Praxis 4, had there been siblings arguing about mercy? Had they all been like this? Had they all been people? One night, Jiwoo came back. She entered quietly and stood over him. Her weapon was drawn but lowered. She looked at him for a long time. My sister thinks you can be saved, she said finally. She thinks there's something in you worth preserving. Like one of her flowers. She shook her head. Quote, I think you're just a weapon. And weapons don't change what they are. You might be right, Kale said. He meant it. Jiwoo seemed surprised by this answer. Don't you want to defend yourself? Tell me about orders and duty, and how you had no choice. I had a choice. I always had a choice. I chose to serve the Imperium. I chose to follow orders. I chose to end 47 worlds. He met her eyes. Your sister saved me. Known. No one hearted. 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 But she cannot save me from what I have done. Neither can you. Neither can I. Jiwoo holstered her weapon. Good. At least you're honest about being a monster. She turned to leave, then paused. She lost our parents. Did you know that? They were at the hospital when your first attack hit. They were doctors. They saved people. And your bombs didn't care. After she left, Kale lay in the darkness. The breathing machine hummed beside him. Somewhere above, the sky was full of stars. Stars he had traveled between. Stars that had once seemed distant and cold and meaningless. Now they seemed heavy. Now they seemed like witnesses to everything he had done. Every order he had followed. Every world he had ended. Every person he had erased. For the first time in his long life of service to the Imperium, Kyle Voss felt something he did not understand. It hurt worse than any wound. It burned hotter than any crash. Later, he would learn the human word for it. Guilt. The bunker became Kale's entire world. Days blended together in the dim light. Hansol visited regularly. She brought him food and checked his breathing systems. But she also brought other things. Books. Images. music stored on damaged devices, pieces of Earth's culture that had survived the bombardment. "This is from a poet who lived 300 years ago," she said one day, showing him text on a cracked tablet. "He wrote about nature and time and loss." Kale read the translated words. They spoke of mountains that remained while dynasties fell, of rivers that flowed long after kings were forgotten, of small flowers that bloomed in spite of winter. "Why show me this?" he asked. "Because I want you to understand what you were sent to destroy. Not just buildings and people, but this: thought, beauty, memory." She saved the file and set the tablet aside. "The Imperium probably has files on Earth. Statistics, resources, strategic value. But do they have this? No." He thought about the briefings he received before each execution. Dry data, population numbers, weapon capabilities, threat assessments. Nothing about poetry. Nothing about what made a civilization worth existing. We are told what to destroy, not why it matters. That's how they use you. Hansol's voice was not accusing, just sad. "If you saw what I see, you couldn't do what they ask. So they make sure you never see it." These conversations disturbed Kale more than any weapon. They made him remember things he had been trained to forget. On the ocean world, there had been singing. He had heard it from orbit as his bombardment began. What had they been singing about? On the ice moon, there had been structures made of carved frozen water. Art. He realized now. They had been making art, and he had melted it all. Jiwoo remained hostile, but she came more often. She was a combat medic, and she took her duty seriously. Even when her patient was an enemy, she changed his medical connections and monitored his healing with professional efficiency. "You're getting stronger," she said one day, not looking at him. "Your wounds are closing. Your breathing is stabilizing. Soon, you won't need the restraints." "Will you kill me then?" Kale asked. Jiwoo paused in her work. "I don't know. I want to. Every time I see you, I remember our parents dying. But Hansol is my sister, and she believes in saving things, even when they don't deserve it." She finished her work roughly. "So, I guess you get to live. For now." One night, Hansol came to the bunker looking frightened. She carried a radio, one of the old ones that still worked. Voices crackled through static. "What is it?" Kale asked. "Another ship. A big one. It's in orbit now." She turned up the volume. A voice was broadcasting in multiple languages. The translator converted it for Kale. "I am Vrek Than, executioner of the Galactic Imperium. Kale Voss is dead. His failure is complete. Earth's execution will now proceed without mercy. You have 12 hours to broadcast your surrender. After that, nothing will remain." Kale's blood went cold. He knew Vrek. They had trained together. Vrek was efficient but cruel. He enjoyed his work. The Imperium sent him when they wanted to make examples, not just enforce order. "I have to get to Taemin," Hansol said. "The resistance needs to know." "Wait." Kael pulled against his restraints. "Listen to me. Vrek is different from me. He won't follow standard procedure. He'll target civilian centers first. He'll make it hurt." Hansol stared at him. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Kael stopped. Why was he helping? These were his enemies. Vrek was his replacement. By all logic, he should hope for Vrek's success. The Imperium's order would be restored. His failure would be corrected. But when he thought about Vrek's weapons falling on the people in this bunker, on Hansol and Jiwoo, and all the others hiding underground, something in him rejected it completely. "Because you showed me something," he said finally, "and I cannot unsee it now." Hansol made a decision. She pulled out a knife and cut his restraints. Kael sat up slowly, his body still weak but functional. He could kill her now. He could escape. Instead, he sat there, rubbing circulation back into his limbs. "Come with me," Hansol said. Taemin needs to hear this. The Resistance headquarters was deeper underground, in old subway tunnels that had been reinforced and expanded. KL had to duck to fit through some passages. People stared at him as Han Sol led him through. Some raised weapons. Others just looked with hate and fear. Taemin was in a central chamber surrounded by damaged computers and maps. He was older than KL expected, with gray hair and scars that spoke of many battles. When he saw KL, his hand went to his sidearm. "You brought the executioner here?" His voice was hard and cold. "Have you lost your mind, Han Sol?" "He has information about the new ship," she said quickly. "About the new executioner." Quote, "Why would we trust anything he says?" Taemin kept his weapon pointed at Kale's chest. Around them, other Resistance fighters moved into position. Kale counted 12 weapons aimed at him. He could probably kill 5 before they brought him down. Maybe 6 if he was lucky. He made no move toward any of them. "Because he helped me," Han Sol said. "Because he's been telling me about the Imperium's tactics. Because he knows their weaknesses. Or because he's playing you." Taemin's eyes never left Kale. Executioners don't switch sides. They don't grow consciences. They're weapons. Nothing more. "You're right," Kyle said. His voice echoed in the chamber. "I am a weapon. For 47 worlds, I was an efficient weapon. But something has broken in me. Something your people did." He looked at Han Sol. "She saved my life when she should have let me die. And now, I cannot remember why any of this matters. Why the Imperium's order is worth these deaths." Taemin studied him. "You expect me to believe you've had a change of heart? Because one woman showed you kindness? Well, one woman showed you kindness. I expect nothing. But Vrek Than is up there. And he will kill everyone in this city before morning. Your weapons cannot stop his ship. Your defenses cannot hold. But I know how executioner vessels work. I know their shield frequencies and weapon cycles. I know how to hurt them." The chamber fell silent. Jiwoo appeared from a side tunnel. She looked at Kale, standing free, at her sister beside him, at Taemin's weapon still raised. She moved to stand with Han Sol. "He's telling the truth about the ship," she said. "I've been monitoring broadcasts. This new executioner is worse than Kale. He's announcing his targets before he hits them. He's making people watch their cities die. 1. O'Day. 1. Taemin lowered his weapon slowly. "If I trust you, and you betray us, everyone here dies. Everyone here is already dying," Kale said. "At least this way you have a chance." "Why?" Taemin asked the question that everyone was thinking. "Why would you turn against your own people?" Kale thought about the poetry Han Sol had shown him. About the seeds she had saved. About Jiwoo's parents dying in a hospital while trying to save others. About 47 worlds that probably had people just like these humans. People with art and love and reasons to live. "Because I was wrong," he said simply. "About all of it." Taemin made his decision. "If you're lying, I'll kill you myself." Slowly. He turned to his fighters. "Get him a terminal. Let's see if the executioner knows what he's talking about." Kale sat at a damaged computer. His claws moved over the keyboard, awkward but functional. He pulled up specifications from memory. Shield harmonics. Weapon cooldown cycles. Structural weak points. Everything he knew about executioner-class vessels. "Here," he said, marking points on a ship schematic. "These are vulnerable during weapon charging. Hit them in sequence, and the shields will cascade. You'll have maybe 30 seconds before they recalibrate." 30 seconds isn't enough to take down a dreadnought, one of Taemin's officers said. "No. But it's enough to get inside." Kale looked at Taemin. "If you can put a team on that ship, I can guide them to the core systems. Vrek keeps his command codes in a secure node. Steal those codes, and you can turn his weapons offline." "That's suicide," Jiwoo said. "We'd never make it to the ship, let alone inside it." "You wouldn't," Kale agreed. But I would. Executioners are expected to board hostile vessels. I know the security protocols. I can pass through them. Han Solo stepped forward. You want us to send you back to your own people? How is that not a trap? KL met her eyes. Because I'm not going back to them. I'm going to stop them. He paused. Or die trying. Either way, you're better off than you are now. Taemin looked at his officers. At Han Solo and Ji-woo. At the dozens of fighters who had gathered to listen. Finally, he looked back at KL. We attack at dawn, he said. If you're coming with us, you follow my orders, not the Imperium's, mine. Understood? KL stood. For the first time since the crash, he felt like he had a purpose. Not the old purpose of destruction. Something different. Something that felt almost like redemption. Understood. The attack shuttle lifted off just before dawn. It was a patched-together machine, built from salvaged parts and desperation. Kale had to fold himself uncomfortably into the cargo space. Around him sat 12 human fighters, including Ji-woo. Taemin piloted from the front. Everyone was armed. Everyone knew they probably would not come back. Radio silence until we're in range, Taemin announced. The shuttle climbed through the darkness, running cold to avoid detection. Below, the city ruins fell away. Above, stars appeared. And among them, like a knife against the sky, hung Vrek's dreadnought. It was 3 times the size of Kael's lost ship. Weapon arrays covered its hull like thorns. Shield generators pulsed with contained energy. As they approached, Kael saw smaller ships launching patrol runs. Vrek was being thorough. He would leave nothing to chance. There, Kael pointed to a region of space near the ship's equator. That's our window. When the main batteries cycle for the next bombardment, the shield harmonics will fluctuate. You'll have your 30 seconds. And if your timing is wrong, one of the fighters asked, then we burn. Kael's voice held no comfort. We burn, and Earth dies anyway, but slower. Ji-woo checked her medical supplies one more time. She had volunteered for this mission against Han Solo's protests. Her sister had wanted to come too, but Taemin had refused. Someone needed to survive to remember. Someone needed to carry on if they all failed. 2 minutes, Taemin said. Everyone check your gear. The humans went through their preparations. Weapons. Breathing masks for the alien atmosphere inside the dreadnought. Explosives. Communications equipment. Simple tools for an impossible task. KL watched them and felt something he had not experienced in years. Respect. These people faced certain death with the same efficiency as any Imperium soldier. But they did it for choice, not orders. 30 seconds. Taemin counted down. Everyone hold. The dreadnought's main batteries began to glow. Energy built in massive chambers deep in the ship's hull. Kael knew the sequence by heart. Charge, aim, fire. During that sequence, for just a moment, the shields would thin. Now, Kael shouted. Taemin threw the shuttle forward at full thrust. The engines screamed. G-forces pressed everyone back. The dreadnought's shields appeared as a shimmer of energy. They hit it doing speeds that should have killed them all. But Kael's timing was perfect. They punched through the weak point with meters to spare. The shuttle bounced off the dreadnought's hull, then locked on with magnetic clamps. They were inside the shield perimeter. They were touching the ship itself. Hull breach charges, Taemin ordered. Go, go, go. The humans placed explosive charges in a circle and took cover. The blast was small, but precise. Metal peeled back. Atmosphere vented briefly before emergency systems sealed the breach. Then they were through, pouring into the dreadnought's corridors. Alarms immediately began to scream. Red lights pulsed. Kael heard Vrek's voice over the internal communications, speaking in the Imperium's language. Intruders. On deck 7. All units respond. Capture them, alive. I want to see what Earth sends to die today. This way. Kale moved forward, his body remembering the layout. All executioner ships followed similar designs. He led them through twisting passages, away from the main response routes. Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed. Vrek's soldiers were coming. They reached an intersection. A squad of Imperium troops rounded the corner, weapons raised. Kyle recognized their species. Grask warriors, 7 feet tall, armored in biomechanical suits, 4 of them. More than enough to kill everyone in this human group. Kale stepped forward. "Stand down," he commanded, in the Imperium's language. "I am Kale Voss. I outrank you." The Grask squad leader hesitated. His weapon lowered slightly. "Executioner Voss? You were reported dead." "Obviously not. These humans are my prisoners. I'm taking them to interrogation." Kale's voice held absolute authority. Years of command. Years of never being questioned. It almost worked. The squad leader's weapon lowered further. Then Vrek's voice cut through again. "Kyle Voss is a traitor. Anyone who sees him has orders to kill on sight." The Grask weapons came back up. KL moved. His training took over. He was not armed, but he did not need to be. His claws tore through the squad leader's armor. His strength, even weakened from the crash, was still greater than theirs. He killed 2 before the humans opened fire. The fight was brief and brutal. The Grask died, but the noise had given away their position. More troops would come. "Keep moving," Taemin said. Blood ran down his arm from a grazing shot. "How much further?" 2 decks up, but we have to move fast now." Kale took the weapon from a fallen Grask soldier. It felt strange in his hands. He had not carried a weapon as a soldier in years. Executioners commanded. They did not fight in corridors like common troops. They ran. Behind them, pursuit grew louder. Weapons fire sparked off walls. 1 human went down, shot through the leg. Jiwoo stopped to help him, but he pushed her forward. "Go. Don't waste it." She ran, tears on her face, leaving him behind. His last act was to detonate a grenade, taking 3 Grask soldiers with him. They reached the command deck. The doors were sealed, reinforced, designed to withstand direct assault. Kale placed his hand on the security panel. His biological signature was still in the system. The door hesitated, processing. Then, it opened. The command deck was vast and efficient. Dozens of stations. Hundreds of screens, showing Earth from orbit. Weapon trajectories, troop movements. And at the center, standing before the main display, was Vrek Than. He turned slowly. Vrek was taller than Kale, his exoskeleton darker, his 4 eyes burning with cold intelligence. When he spoke, his voice was calm, almost amused. "Kale, they said you betrayed us. I told them it was impossible. Kale Voss, the Imperium's perfect weapon, turned traitor?" He gestured around the command deck. His crew had drawn weapons, but had not fired. Not yet. And yet here you are. With humans. How disappointing. "Stand down, Vrek. Earth's execution stops now." Vrek laughed. It was a harsh sound. Without joy. "You think you can stop this? You? 1 failed executioner? And a handful of primitives? We got this far." Kale raised his stolen weapon. Around him, the humans did the same. They were outnumbered, 3 to 1. Outgunned. Out of time. But they did not run. "So you did." Vrek's amusement faded. "They corrupted you. The Imperium warned us this could happen. That's why executioners are trained in isolation. That's why we are taught to never see our enemies as people." He moved closer. Hands empty but dangerous. "You were weak, Kale. You let them infect you with their chaos. I let them show me the truth." Kale's weapon did not waver. 47 worlds, Vrek. I ended 47 civilizations. And I never asked myself if they deserved to die. I just followed orders, like a machine, because that's what we are. Tools of order. The Imperium's will made flesh. Vrek's eyes burned. And you were the best of us. Until you broke. No. Kale shook his head. I was broken the whole time. I just didn't know it. Vrek moved. His speed was incredible. He crossed the deck in a blur. Claws extended. Kale fired, but Vrek dodged, using his own crew as cover. Then they collided. Two executioners, trained by the same masters, fighting with the same techniques. Open fire! Taemin shouted. The humans attacked. The command deck erupted into chaos. Weapons fire everywhere. Screens exploding. Bodies falling. Ji-Woo moved through it like a ghost, her medic's instincts guiding her to wounded humans, pulling them to cover. Kyle and Vrek fought in the center of it all. They were evenly matched, but Kyle was still recovering from his injuries. Vrek was fresh, rested, angry. His claws opened a wound across Kyle's chest. His strength drove Kale back against a console. You could have been eternal, Vrek hissed. The Imperium would have remembered your name forever. Now you'll die a traitor. Forgotten. Erased. Good. Kale's blood fell to the deck. I don't want them to remember me. Not for what I did. He saw movement over Vrek's shoulder. Hansel. She had come after all. Ignoring orders. Impossible and stubborn. She was at a command terminal, her fingers flying over alien controls. Kale understood. She was a scientist. She solved problems. Kale needed to give her time. He pushed back against Vrek with everything he had left. You're right about one thing, he said. I was the best of us. And that's why I know how to beat you. He dropped his weapon. Vrek's eyes widened in surprise. Then Kale grabbed him and threw them both through the main display screen. Glass shattered. They fell through smoke and sparks. Behind them, Hansol found what she needed. The command codes. The override systems. She entered sequences Kale had taught her. The ship's weapons began powering down. The bombardment sequence stopped. Every screen on the command deck went dark. Vrek threw Kale off. He stood, bleeding, but alive. What have you done? Vrek, we took your ship. Taemin emerged from cover, weapon aimed at Vrek's head. Around them, the remaining human fighters secured the command deck. It's over. Vrek looked at Kale. At the humans. At his own crew. Dead or surrendering. For the first time, his expression showed something other than confidence. It showed disbelief. This isn't possible, he said. You're primitives. You're chaos. You cannot win against the Imperium's order. We just did. Kale stood slowly, painfully. And now the galaxy will know. An executioner can be stopped. The Imperium can be resisted. We're not invincible. We're just people who followed evil orders. Ji-Woo moved to treat Kale's wounds. She worked in silence, professionally. When she finished, she looked at him. You saved us. You saved yourselves. I just showed you where to aim. Kale looked at the screens, coming back online. At Earth, still spinning below. Still alive. What happens now? Taemin lowered his weapon. Now? Now we tell everyone what happened here. The message went out across every communication channel the dreadnought could reach. Taemin stood before the broadcasting equipment, while Hansol operated the controls. Kale stood in the background, visible but silent. His presence was the message as much as any words. This is Commander Taemin of Earth's Resistance, the broadcast began. We have captured the Imperium dreadnought and stopped the execution of our world. This victory was possible because an executioner chose to help us, because someone who was taught to destroy learned to protect instead. The broadcast included footage from the command deck. The fight. The humans working alongside Kale. Vrek's defeat. Everything. Taemin made sure the whole galaxy could see that the Imperium's perfect weapons could break, could change, could be beaten. The responses came quickly. Some from Earth, celebrations in the tunnels and bunkers. Some from Imperium worlds, confusion and anger. Some from conquered species, hope in their messages. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they could resist too. But the most important response came from the Imperium core itself. The High Council's transmission was cold and clear. The traitor Kael Voss will be judged for his crimes. Earth will still face consequences for this rebellion. However, a temporary ceasefire is granted while the Council debates appropriate response. It was not peace. But it was time. Time to breathe. Time to rebuild. Time to prepare for what came next. Vrek was locked in his own brig, guarded by human soldiers who had lost everything to his weapons. He did not speak, did not eat, just sat in the darkness, staring at nothing. Kael visited him once. "You could have killed me," Vrek said without looking up. "When we fought, you held back." "Yes." Kael stood outside the cell. "Killing you would have made me what I was before, what you still are. A weapon without choice. So what are you now?" Vrek's voice held genuine curiosity. "What does a broken weapon become? I don't know yet, but I'm trying to find out." Kael turned to leave, then paused. "The humans have a saying, it's never too late to change. I didn't believe it at first. Now, I think maybe it's the only true thing in the galaxy." Vrek said nothing, but his eyes followed Kael as he left. The temporary ceasefire lasted 7 days. During that time, Kael made his decision. He called Taemin, Han Sol, and Ji Woo to the command deck. "I'm leaving Earth," he announced. "The Imperium will want to try me for treason. If I go to them willingly, it might give your world more time, more chances." "That's suicide," Ji Woo said immediately. "Probably. But the trial will be public. The whole galaxy will watch. And I can tell them what I've learned. About the 47 worlds. About what the Imperium really does." Kael looked at each of them. "I can make them see what you showed me." Han Sol stepped forward. She held a small, sealed container. Inside was a single seed. "This is from a cherry blossom tree. They used to grow all over our country. Now this might be the last one." She offered it to him. "If you're going to face the Imperium, take this with you. Show them what they destroy when they execute worlds. Show them something beautiful that could have lived." Kael took the container carefully. It was so small, so fragile. Yet somehow it felt heavier than any weapon he had ever carried. "I will." Quote, "When you get there," Taemin said, "remember that you represent more than yourself now. You represent everyone who resists. Everyone who thinks the Imperium's order isn't worth the cost." "I know." Kael felt the weight of this responsibility. It was different from the weight of orders. It was the weight of choice, of consequence, of meaning. Ji Woo surprised him by offering her hand. A human gesture of respect. He took it carefully with his massive claw. "You're still a monster," she said. "But maybe you're becoming a different kind of monster. The kind that scares tyrants instead of serving them." The journey to Imperium Core took 3 weeks. Kael traveled alone in a small ship, broadcasting his position constantly. He wanted them to find him easily. He wanted to make this as public as possible. The galaxy watched his approach. Messages flooded his communications. Some called him traitor. Some called him hero. Most just watched, waiting to see what would happen. The Imperium arrested him the moment he entered their space. They brought him to the capital world, to the great halls, where the High Council ruled. The trial was broadcast across every Imperium world, just as Kael had hoped. He stood in chains before the Council. 13 beings of different species, all ancient, all-powerful. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had ordered countless executions. And now, they sat in judgment of their own weapon, Kale Voss. The council speaker began. You are charged with treason, desertion, and aiding enemies of the Imperium. How do you plead? 8. Guilty. Kale's voice echoed in the chamber. To all charges. Murmurs ran through the assembled crowd. The council speaker raised a hand for silence. You do not deny your crimes? Roop. 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 No. I helped Earth resist. I fought against another executioner. I betrayed the Imperium's order. Kale stood straight, despite his chains. But I want to explain why. The Imperium does not require explanations from traitors. Then the Imperium is afraid of truth. Kale's eyes met the speaker's. You sent me to end 47 civilizations. I followed orders without question, without mercy, without ever asking if those deaths were necessary. And then I met a human who saved my life when she should have killed me, who showed me what I had been destroying. He held up the container Han Sol had given him. This is a seed from Earth, from a flower that might be extinct now because of weapons like me. It's small. It's fragile. It has no strategic value. But it's beautiful. And the people who preserved it did so, knowing they might die. They saved it anyway, because they believed the future mattered more than survival. The chamber fell silent. Every eye was on the small container, in Kale's massive claw. I ended worlds like this, he continued. Worlds full of people who made art and preserved beauty and believed in things bigger than themselves. And I never once asked if the Imperium's order was worth that cost. I never questioned if we were the good we claimed to be. I was a weapon. Weapons don't question. They just destroy. You were the Imperium's finest executioner, one of the council members said. You maintained order across entire sectors. Without you, chaos would have spread. No. Kale's voice was firm. Without me, people would have been free to choose their own paths. Some would have chosen wrong. Some would have made mistakes. But they would have been their mistakes. Their choices. Their lives. He looked directly at the cameras broadcasting this trial across the galaxy. I can't undo what I've done. Those 47 worlds are gone. Those people are dead. That's on me. Forever. But I can tell the truth now. The Imperium's order is built on fear and death. It's built on weapons like me who never asked if we were serving justice or just serving power. This is sedition, the speaker declared. This trial is over. Kale Voss, you are sentenced to... Wait! Another council member stood. Kael recognized her species. Praxian. One of the first to join the Imperium thousands of years ago. Let him finish. The speaker looked displeased but nodded. Speak then. Let the galaxy hear a traitor's final words. Kael took a breath. I was wrong. About everything. The Imperium taught me that order was worth any price. That chaos was the enemy. That worlds like Earth needed to be controlled or destroyed. But Earth showed me something different. They showed me that freedom is worth fighting for. That people who choose their own path, even if it's difficult, are stronger than people who follow orders. He paused. I know I'm going to die today. The Imperium can't let me live. I'm proof that their weapons can break. That their perfect order has cracks. But before I die, I want every species watching this to know something. You can resist. You can say no. You can choose differently. He held up the seed container one more time. And if I could make one request before my execution, I would ask that this seed be planted somewhere. Anywhere. So that something beautiful can grow from all this death. The trial ended. The council conferred briefly. Then the speaker announced the verdict. Kale Voss, you are sentenced to exile. You are stripped of rank and title. You are forbidden from entering Imperium space. If you return, you will be executed without trial. This is our judgment. KL stood in shock. Exile? Not execution? The council has decided that making you a martyr serves no purpose. But the Praxian council member, who had defended him, smiled slightly. Besides, someone needs to plant that seed. They removed his chains. They gave him a ship and supplies. They sent him away from Imperium space with only one command: never return. As his ship left the capital world, KL looked back at the massive structure of Imperium government. So powerful, so permanent, so certain of its righteousness. But now there were cracks in it. His trial had been seen by billions. His words had spread. Already, reports were coming in of resistance movements on subjugated worlds. Small acts of defiance, people remembering that they could choose. One weapon had broken free. Others might follow. Kyle set course for a distant system, one far from Imperium control. A place where he could plant Han Sol's seed, where something new could grow. He thought about Earth, about the humans who had changed everything, about Han Sol's kindness, and Jiwoo's forgiveness, and Taemin's trust. He thought about the 47 worlds he had destroyed. He would remember them now. All of them. Their names, their people, their loss. It would hurt. It would hurt for the rest of his long life. But that pain was important. It was proof that he had changed. Proof that weapons could become something else. His communication system chimed. A message from Earth. From Han Sol. He opened it. The message was simple. Just an image. Her standing in a cleared space in Seoul. Planting seeds. Building a garden in the ruins. Behind her, other humans worked. Rebuilding. Surviving. Living. At the bottom, she had written, "Thank you for giving us a chance. We'll make it count. And when your seed blooms, send us a picture. We want to see it grow. I Kang. Thanks for watching. And the next time, and will I Kang. And Crescend, KL saved the message. Then he turned his ship toward the distant stars. He did not know what he would become. He did not know if he could ever truly atone for what he had done. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He would never be a weapon again. He would never stop someone else from breathing. He would never execute another world. Instead, he would plant a seed and watch it grow, and remember the humans who taught a monster how to hope. The galaxy's executioner had met a human, had forgotten how to breathe, had learned to breathe again, differently, in a way that gave life, instead of taking it. And somewhere in the ruins of Earth, under a sky slowly healing, Han Sol smiled. She knew the seed would grow. She knew, because she had seen something impossible already. She had seen a weapon choose to become something better. If that could happen, anything was possible. Even peace. Even change. Even a galaxy where no one had to be an executioner anymore. She went back to her planting. There was much work to do. Many seeds to preserve. Many gardens to grow. But she had time now. They all had time. And that was everything.